So I'm back in my shop after being, I've been here for just over a week. And I wanted to, I've done a little bit of research on the type of wood that it is that I cut down. I'm going to show a picture of that kind of now and just click it up from what we had before. But you'll notice that the grain on the inside is very dark, so it's like walnut. So I'm going to show you a piece of walnut just to show what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's a piece of walnut there. You notice that the outside is rather light, and then the inside, the heartwood, is dark. However, that's what walnut looks like. I was kind of playing that, and it's got quite a different grain pattern. So I'm going to show you a piece of the end grain of black ash, and that's right there. So you can see that's not really dark in the middle. The way that the piece that I cut. This is a piece of black ash here. You can see in the center, actually right there is the pith, which is kind of what you either want buried in the wood completely or cut out, because you can see it's cracked there. So this is what black ash looks like. It's just kind of darker. However, like I said, the inside, there isn't the big color difference. So this is the piece that I brought back. This is a sliver from the tree that we cut down. Like, part of it broke. Okay, you can see here I chopped off the sapwood, and I've tried drying it. It's not completely dry. I have a wood moisture meter here, and you can see it's reading, what's that? Still over 20%. I think up here we're getting down to really what it should be reading. And if you take a look at this piece of wood here, this is down to about 10% where it should be. This piece here is about 12. Part of the way the moisture meter works, however, is on wood density, and this wood isn't very dense. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a piece of regular ash, kind of in a way roughly the same size. So what we're looking here is we're looking for swamp ash. And if this will turn on for me, yeah. And swamp ash was used in 1950s Fender's guitars because of its light weight. And it was a tone wood. So what are we looking at there? 659 grams. We'll go put this on. And that's, I'll turn it upside down. It's easier to see. 354 grams. So about half the weight, even though this will get lighter when the moisture gets out of it. Now, when you... Okay, so you got to explain some things about wood direction and that. If you look at this piece here, the end grain, you will see that the growth rings are all pretty much straight up and down, which gives you this really straight pattern. That's what you call a quarter sawn wood. When you see this cathedral sort of grain, that's flat sawn. The reason that for musical instruments and guitars you use quarter sawn wood is because this wood here will move, and I'll show you on this piece of walnut here. So if you notice on this piece of walnut how warped it is, the reason is a sapwood has more open pores than the heartwood. So what happens is when sapwood dries, it shrinks more. So this is what happens to a piece of wood that's dried, okay? If I were to soak this in water and refill the water back into it that had left, it would actually straighten itself up and become completely flat again. So, what are we looking for here? These two woods are actually fairly similar in color. The only thing is, this one has been aged for about 30 years. It's dried for a long time. Now, of course, it's also very heavy. Now, I'm going to find another piece of wood. Just give me a sec. So this is a piece of white mountain ash. I call it white mountain ash. It's normally called just white ash. So this piece and this piece actually are the same. I guess I call this white mountain ash because I've had some ash that's perfectly white right through, okay? You see this had a little bit of darkness there, a little bit of a change in color. I've had white ash that's been actually perfectly light colored right through without any change. So these two species of wood are considered the same, even though I would say this is white mountain ash. This is black ash, right? Remember, that's quarter sawn wood because the grain is straight. And so let's go back to this piece. That's the trees that we have up there. Part of the reason that we turn the camera on. Part of the reason that when we bought the property, we noticed that the trees were dying. We realized there were ash trees. We cut down one tree. We kept it aside, but then it looked different to me. It almost looked like it was cedar inside. It didn't look like real ash, and the weight wasn't like ash. Never seen any ash like it before. So I started doing some research, and I came up with swamp ash. And there's no real species of wood called swamp ash. The only thing I've ever found on swamp ash is that swamp ash is from trees that grows in swamps or beside rivers. In other words, there's a lot of water absorption in them. So I guess the cells are very open. So I can only assume right now that this is swamp ash. And I'm kind of hoping that people out there kind of, if they see what I'm doing, maybe they'll have their own opinion. I've heard swamp ash is also called green ash. However, this is the problem, is that there is no ash that I can think of that I found that has such a difference in color from the heartwood to the sapwood. Like I said, here I'll turn this around again, and you can see the white that came off of there. Here are some of the chips on the floor that I chopped off of there. Like, I mean, that's yeah, where am I here? Yeah, like that's really white. And so the contrast is huge. So it's not like any other ash I've ever had. It's extremely light also. So if it's swamp ash, it's actually worth a fair amount of money. In my opinion, if you're going to use it for musical instruments, although I've seen it different than I've seen swamp ash guitar blanks with a cathedral pattern on them, or part of a cathedral pattern instead of a purely straight grain pattern. If you look at a acoustic guitar made with Sitka spruce, you'll see that it's very tight grain, very straight pattern, and that's because it has to be quarter sawn so that it doesn't move. So in my opinion, when I start cutting these logs, that, like I said, one of the reasons we got the bandsaw was because, look at this, we got swamp ash. And So right now we have a fairly good supply. I mean, it has to be cut to the right thickness. It has to be dried. And they usually want to have it dried down to 6% moisture content, or possibly as low as 0% moisture content, which if you use a vacuum kiln, you can actually get it down to 0, and then it kind of replenishes. In other words, the wood, as you're making your guitar, is very stable. If there's any luthiers out there who have made guitars before and know more about this, I want to add a comment. I'm gonna put swamp ash in the title, so maybe it'll come up in their searches. But what I'm looking for help. I'm looking to, okay, is it really necessary that I cut it into quarter sawn wood, or will it sound better if it's cut a different way, or partially cut a different way? There is an in between. There's quarter sawn, flat sawn, and then there's rift sawn. Rift sawn is where the I'll turn the camera around again. So rift sawn is really where the grain goes at an angle. It's still fairly uniform, so it's still pretty stable, but it's at an angle, and it's the way it's cut out of a log is kind of like if you're cutting quarter sawn. Eventually, like, you cut the log right through the center, and then you cut it through the center again, and you keep flipping it, and you keep getting straight. But eventually, you're not going to get straight grain anymore. It's going to start angling, and so that's where you get the rift sawn. A lot of times in musical instruments, they'll use that for bracing and stuff like that. So I'm hoping somebody out there that would be interested sees the video, drops a line. I just wanted to get this out here because it was kind of a eureka thing when I dropped that tree and saw what was inside. However, I know it's a very light wood. It's a hard wood, so that means it's strong. It will work like for electric guitars. I guess part of the reason having a light guitar is going to be a lot nicer and probably the reason that they used it mostly was because if you're playing a guitar and you're gigging for like 6 hours or something like that, or 4 hours, I mean, a lot of weight around your neck is going to kind of bother you. So these would make a very light guitar, and because they're a tone wood, which means they have tone, I haven't really noticed. I have in the pieces that I've had before noticed that they do. It does have a tone. So in other words, if you bang it, it'll kind of make a bit of a hollow sound, like give it a little bit of a tone off. I'm assuming that when it's finally made into a guitar body that it will. So anyways, I just thought I'd do this. The black ash that I showed you is what the stairs are going to be made out of. The black ash and the white ash that I had before that's kind of turned brown, so they should match pretty well. And I'll do the stair video at some point later, but I think right now I'm going to take a break from videoing in time up there, and I'm going to go back and show me putting the pine up north in the summer, and then I should be back up north again and hopefully get the bandsaw going. Hopefully people do drop a comment. I get a bit more information so I know exactly how to cut this up on the bandsaw, and maybe give me some more ideas. And don't forget that if you like the videos, to hit the like button down there. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And this is probably a little different than my everyday thing, and it kind of, I don't want to start another channel on swamp ash, but I don't know, I find it really intriguing, and I play the guitar. My everyone in my family plays a musical instrument. electric guitars, and they've been in bands and violins and ukuleles. My daughter played a ukulele in a band in Ottawa for years. So they were all musical, and so it's probably more of interest to someone like me than most other people. So I got to stop talking. Remember, hit the like button if you like this. And hopefully out there someone hears me about this swamp ash and gives me some more information or is interested. I have to figure out, how to sell it once it's dry enough, all that sort of thing. Okay, thanks. Bye.